So I thought it was interesting what John Collins had to say in his introductory press conference, which I believe was last Friday for him. And he talked about the idea of this is a quote from him. Quote, "It's a big stress relief. Obviously, my name has been in a lot of rumors and whatnot, and it hasn't been easy. So it's just been good to finally get it over with and obviously start anew in Utah. I'm really not trying to think about it too much and just go for it and be the best player I can. I feel like I can be really successful here." Now, it is interesting that, and again, it's almost been a running joke in a lot of ways, is that, oh, well, John Collins is, scheduled to be traded again. When I was at the Hawks draft party, not this, we were at the draft party this couple months ago here, or whatever, month ago, whatever like that. But in 2022, I was at the Hawks draft party, and that was at some event arena and all this good kind of stuff. And there was so much speculation talking to people about, oh, well, Collins is going to get traded tonight. And Zach Klein and all these other media heads, oh, well, he's getting traded tonight. He's getting traded. And then nothing happened. Then we rolled through the trade deadline. Nothing happened. And we've heard this for years and years and years. And you figure it's got to grind on a guy when the team that drafted you and the organization that gave you a $125 million contract and the organization that believes in you. And at one point, I mean, he was, our second best player on the roster. The fact of, okay, they want to move on from you and get rid of you had to be weighing on his mind. And I expect, listen, I will tell you, I think John Collins is going to have a big season. I don't know what their plan is in Utah. I'm going to talk to one of the beat reporters at some point, and I'll get some information, about it. But I don't know what their plan is for John Collins. I don't really cover Utah basketball, but it just feels like that there's been a big burden lifted off his shoulders. And look, I'll say it this way, okay? I'll say the thing that maybe isn't popular to be said, but maybe part of this is getting away from Trae Young and that dynamic. Not just the Hawks and things like that, maybe the Trae Young dynamic. Did they mesh as well as what we would have hoped for? Probably not. But again, they were kind of linked and they were moving forward and they were going to be the building blocks of this organization. And now finally, after, 5,000 rumors, I mean, think about how many guys have been rumored in trades for John Collins. Half the league has been rumored to be traded for John Collins, right? Like every time the trade deadline or the offseason or this or that for the last really 3-4 years, I mean, it's been one rumor after another. I said half the league has been involved in some kind of trade rumor that was, John Collins related out there. And Collins went on to say that, quote, "I understand people being used to me playing one way and obviously not playing up to the standards that are expected. I look at myself and I'm my own biggest critic as well. So it's definitely on me to just get back into the gym and really just tighten my game up." And he said, he said that there's always room to get better, never going to be 100% until I stop playing the game. And he said, quote, "I never felt like I've woken up and lost the way or knowledge of how to play the game of basketball. Once I get in the court and just play, I really feel like all the noise will be quiet." And like I said, I think that he's going to have a big year in Utah. But just, it was interesting when he talked about Nate McMillan in the off, when that move was made. He was one of the guys that stood in front of the media and talked about, well, maybe it was a message for, a younger group of guys, or sorry, a more veteran group of guys, and that they were a young team and all this. Okay. I mean, again, I don't really believe all of that stuff, but whatever. But now he's in Utah, and again, I expect him to have a big year. I don't know if he's going to become that 20-10 player that he was in his first few years with the Atlanta Hawks, but maybe just getting away, and we talk about fresh starts and change of scenery and all these other things that go along with it. Maybe that's what he needs, out there. Maybe this is going to be the best thing for him. And again, this was not about, I'd say it this way, but again, this was not about getting value in return, right? They got Rudy Gay back and he's already been shipped off, right? We told you. We told you on the show that he wasn't going to be around. Rudy Gay was never going to be here. Those are just parts. The main thing for the Hawks, hate to say it this way, but was getting under the luxury tax. And by the way, that's every move the Hawks have made. Okay. The Usman Garuba and Ty Washington and Patty Mills, you're going to have all those guys. No, not one of those guys makes the Hawks roster better. And now they're all gone, other than Patty Mills is still around, who got traded 3 times in 10 days. You tell I'm frustrated about what the Hawks have done this offseason. But it was a salary dump. I mean, let's call it what it is. With John Collins, it was a salary dump. That they wanted to move under the luxury tax. They didn't want to be in it. And by the way, a lot of teams do not want to be in the luxury tax. The way the new CBA is set up, it's not necessarily a good thing to be in the luxury tax. And once you start to get into it, it's hard to get out of unless you just dump salary. And that's what the Hawks did here. So look, good for John Collins. Again, I'll keep up with what he's doing in Utah. I'll probably talk to some of the beat writers and, those kinds of people that follow him on an everyday basis. I won't necessarily keep up with him every day, but it will be interesting to see that if he does kind of have that bounce back kind of breakout season where for whatever reason, again, he had, critiques about Trae Young and the offense running through him. Maybe now things will be different in Utah. Maybe now he's got that fresh start, and maybe now he can find his way to where he gets back to being the player that we thought he could be. He gets back to that 20-12 kind of, or 20-10, I should say, kind of mark. We'll see if he can get back to all of that. Aren't many of those guys running around in the league, and Collins at one time was one of them. So good luck to him. It'll be interesting to watch what he does in Utah, and I'll be keeping up with all of it. All right, as you go in and make Hittin' Hard your first listen, be sure to leave us a comment in whatever podcast platform that you're listening on that you are an everyday listener to the program. So we like to call them our everydayers, as we say. So we do thank you so much for being a part of our growing community and being on this journey and this ride with us here over really not even quite a year and a half just yet. So April of last year is when we cranked up. So we thank you so much. And we continue to, want to hear from you as far as being an everyday listener 5 days a week into the program.